I was born in El Salvador in 1987. When I was only 3 days old, my grandfather took me to my grandmother's house, while my mom stayed at the hospital for a week because she had difficulties when she was giving birth to me and was very ill. After spending time with my grandparents, my mom returned to the hospital, and my grandfather took me to her house. But as a baby, I didn't want to be with her. My grandmother said that I would always cry when she held me in her arms. It was like she was a stranger. That's the reason I was taken to my grandmother's house and was raised by her. As a child, I loved to play a lot with my friends. I wasn't a bad child at all, but people would say that I was very quiet and serious. At the age of 5, my grandfather died. This made me change a lot. I would always cry in my room, and sometimes my grandmother would find me crying, and she would say, "Hijo, ¿qué pasa?" I would respond back to her and said that I had a stomachache or that my head hurt. I wouldn't tell anyone what was really going on. I would always have an excuse to why I was crying. When I turned 17, my life started to change a little bit more because I started to go out to parties, clubs, everywhere anyone invited me. Then I started to drink, date women, have all the girlfriends I wanted, but none of those things fulfilled me. I always felt an emptiness inside of me. After I started to date women, at the age of 19, I dated a woman named Sandra. She was very pretty, with long hair, smooth skin, and a cinturita that brought every man crazy. That's the reason of me migrating to the United States. I started to get into many problems and started to have many enemies because of that one woman. In me, there was an interest of migrating to another place. I never thought about leaving behind my family, especially my grandmother. I would always call her mom since she was the one who raised me. But then, one day, my enemies tried to kill me, and she found out. She was very worried, and she said, "Hijo, quiero que busques ayuda. I want you to move to the U.S. Con todo el dolor de mi corazón, prefiero verte lejos y vivo a verte muerto." When she told me these words, I felt sad, but then I realized that I had gotten into this, and now I had to suffer the consequences. I thought about calling my dad. He was the only one that could help me. Later that day, I called him, and I asked him if he could help me because my life was in danger. He said yes. In 2 weeks after I had called him, I was ready to leave. I still remember that day like if it was yesterday. I was dressed in a black dress shirt with a pair of navy blue jeans and a pair of black dress shoes. My mom was there, my brother, my sisters, my whole family was there. They were all crying. They didn't want me to leave, but they knew I had to leave for my own safety. It took me 15 days to get to the United States. Those 15 days were the worst of my life. I had to cross the desert, but I didn't care about anything. I just wanted to forget about what I had gone through. I remember that we fell into a mountain. I walked for days. My feet hurt. They had blisters, blood was coming out of them. I remember that I arrived to Houston, Texas on a rainy day. My dad was waiting for me in the mall, and I thought that everything was going to be good. I thought I was going to be with him, that things were going to change. But then he told me that I couldn't live with him because he had a wife and his kids. Then he sends me to Phoenix there with his brothers. When I arrived there, I didn't know none of them. They didn't talk to me. When we sat at the table, they would talk among themselves, and they wouldn't talk to me like if I wasn't there. I suffered a lot. But one day, a friend of the family came over. He was the first person that started to talk to me. He helped me to get a job. He was the first person to take me out and know around. He invited me to a McDonald's place. I got a job after that. Since I didn't know how to speak English, I got fired. And then I decided to go back to Houston, Texas, where I started to work as a construction worker. I started to see people that I knew back in El Salvador. And then then after that, I stayed there for 5 months. Then I decided to move to Virginia, where I got 2 jobs. I started to work, and I bought myself a car. And then my life, after 2 years of that, my life I started to get used to this new country, to everything. Even though I always miss my mom and my grandmother and my family, my customs, my roots, I just can't leave them behind. But now I realize that all of this was a purpose in my life, that I had a purpose to be here. Now I think that all the things that I went through were something that I had to do to go through to achieve my goals and to prove to people that once let me down that I can be someone in life.